everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for this session, and welcome to the Talk AI Summit, a global gathering of builders, operators, and thought leaders shaping the future of work with artificial intelligence. I'm Peter Ketchum, part of the team here at Signals, and your host for this Talk AI conversation. This session is a part of our official programming for the Talk AI Summit 2025. It is streaming live on our website at talkaisummit.com, as well as across social channels such as LinkedIn and YouTube. You can find that content there to download on demand or access today during this exclusive broadcasting of the event. Today, I'm thrilled to be joined by Dr. Birgul Cotelli, a trailblazing thinker at the intersection of AI strategy, finance, and ethics. With a PhD in finance and senior leadership experience at firms like Deutsche Bank, Barclays, HSBC, and Credit Suisse, Dr. Cotelli brings a rare blend of economic insight, technological vision, and operational leadership. She's a strategist in AI agents, VR and AR, and digital transformation, and a passionate advocate for responsible innovation and ethical AI. Her work spans emerging technologies like Web3 and quantum tech, as well as economic inputs of disruption on industries and societies. In today's conversation, we'll dive into themes from her upcoming research, from the rise of autonomous AI agents to the ethical frameworks that must underpin them, and how leaders can navigate this new industrial revolution with foresight and responsibility. Dr. Cotelli, thank you for being here.
Hi, Peter. It's a pleasure to be here with you to discuss about those really very current topics. Thank you so much.
Great. Yes. We're excited to have you here and excited to jump into what we have. We have a lot to cover. Let's just dive right in. Now, in our conversation a little bit beforehand, we talked about how you've compared AI to the next industrial revolution. What first convinced you it would reshape not just technology, but economies and societies?
Well, I am looking at that under this angle, Peter. I am just questioning how do we see the AI agents, artificial intelligence in general, and how we intend to use them? Are they cost-cutting tools? Are they enablers? Or are they a new species like AI sapiens, or Homo sapiens sapiens like subspecies? So for a long time, AI was primarily seen as a set of tools for specific tasks, like we know, automation, prediction, and analysis. However, it became very, very clear that these agents working on AI technologies, of course, powered with the AI technologies, they were moving beyond performing predefined tasks to exhibiting genuine autonomy, really possessing increasing autonomy. So that is really the ability to perceive their environment, reason, make decisions, and take actions independently to achieve complex goals. So they are really going beyond being cost-cutting tools and enablers to become like a new species. So that is impacting the global economy and the society. Shall I perhaps say contributing to the global economy and the society, and taking away from the global economy and the society? So it's about enabling entirely new business models, redefining value creation, and altering the very nature of work and economic interaction. So in that sense, AI, and particularly AI agents, they represent a force on par with an industrial revolution, as we can observe its trajectory move beyond mere technological advancement into something capable of fundamentally restructuring core economic and societal frameworks. So it is really the breadth, depth, and autonomy of these systems together, they convinced me of its power of reshaping the economy and the society. It's basically a re-architecting of how our economies and societies function, much like the steam engine or the internet did in their eras.
Yeah, no, that's fascinating. You can see the change. I mean, every 3 months, it seems like we're at a vast new scale or pace. Now, being with your experience, your background in the research, how does all of this compare to the pace and scale of the AI shift compared to what you've seen before?
Well, the pace of advancement in the core AI technology, especially with large language models and generative capabilities, that pace has been remarkably rapid. And so in the last few years, that was really at the light speed, right?
Mm-hmm.
So because AI is primarily software driven, new models and agentic frameworks can in principle be disseminated, updated very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So we've seen generative AI tools achieve widespread user adoption, particularly for consumer-facing applications at a speed that perhaps outpaces even early internet and mobile phone update. However, when we consider the scale of the true economic transformation, the picture becomes more nuanced. So while the potential scale of AI's impact is vast, given its nature as a general purpose technology, which is applicable across nearly all sectors, its deep integration into complex business processes and physical infrastructure takes time. So that is
Mm-hmm.
really unlike a mobile application that can scale rapidly on existing networks. Deploying sophisticated AI agents often requires significant changes to workflows, substantial investment in data infrastructure, compute power, and the skilled workforce. So there are also considerable costs and energy demands that can temper the speed of broad economic
Mm-hmm.
adoption.
And that makes sense because there's so many legacy models out there, right? That the data's been sitting out there for 10, 20, 50, 60 years. And now they're trying to have to say, well, how do I make AI talk to that or access that data? And that's kind of that tough part that you're talking about.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Mm.
That is really the engine that we have with AI and AI agents, and the data is actually the fuel. And we have to give the correct fuel. Is that going to be, diesel, or
Mm.
is that going to be the gas that we are going to provide to the AI agents and the AI engine to make it work?
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. How are you gonna? How's it gonna be moving around? What is that fuel type? I like that analogy. So if we're and this is maybe a tougher question to think about because it's moving so fast, like you're talking about. If we're sitting here in the next 10 years, let's say, and maybe we don't go that far, I don't know. But what do you think is going to be the global economic impact and shift on the economy due to AI?
Well, firstly, I anticipate a more pronounced concentration of economic power related to the AI capabilities. So the countries or the corporations that establish early and sustained leadership in developing and deploying advanced AI agents, securing the necessary infrastructure, and cultivating top AI talent will likely see their economic influence grow. So that suggests a potential widening of the gap between AI leaders, primarily the US and China, with the EU striving for a significant role now in the future. So the gap is likely to widen. Some
Mm,
forecasts suggest even that AI could boost the global GDP significantly in the next 10 years, perhaps even as much as 15 percentage points cumulatively if the adoption is responsible and the trust is high. But these gains may not be evenly distributed. So if I mean, we are likely to see the significant shifts also in the comparative advantage, right? Countries that successfully integrate the AI agents into key factors, be it the advanced manufacturing, healthcare, financial services, or even resource management, that it will give and gain new economic strengths to the nations adopting very early the AI technology, of course. Well, the security of the supply chains for critical AI inputs, that is another topic that we have to consider for the next 10 years.
mm,
Those supply chain related inputs, they are going to be really paramount. This includes not just
mm,
advanced semiconductors, where the geopolitical tensions are already evident, as we know, but also the critical minerals and rare earth elements. They are vital for AI hardware and the clean energy transition that we all know is extremely needed to power the AI. So the control over these resources or lack thereof will be a significant factor in national economic security and geopolitical leverage, potentially leading to more regionalized supply networks. Finally, I would say the global governance of data and AI. You were mentioning the data beforehand. We gave the example of engine and the fuel. So this will be a much more developed feature of the economic landscape because the data is going to be used more efficiently, more effectively, of course, and that may even possibly be contested. We may see the emergence of more defined data blocks with differing regulatory approaches, influencing digital trade, investment flows, and the ability of the AI agents to operate seamlessly across the borders. So there are certain reports that are suggesting that a world potentially divided into US aligned and China aligned blocks may be ahead of us.
Yeah, that's super interesting. I hadn't really thought about the economic impact that it could have on not the resource control, because I always think of everything cloud-based, right? Everything's in the cloud. Anybody can access it. Anybody can build something. But when we're talking about resources, you're talking about the hubs where they're running all the GPUs and all the servers for AI algorithms to be running. Where those are located are going to be a boon or have some kind of economic impact either where they are or where they aren't, and then how those plants are built, where the resources are located. There's a physical and a digital or cloud aspect to both realms of this. I hadn't really thought about that before. That's really interesting.
Absolutely. So we have to think about, anything related to the hardware as much as anything related to the digital. Yes.
Yeah, no, fascinating. So let me jump here into kind of what is happening now. So with major transformations that happens, I mean, there's always a disruption in what the existing structure looks like, right? That where there's disruption, there's going to be loss and there's going to be gains. There's that always happens. In your view, which industries or economies are going to be most at risk, and which are positioned to more so reinvent themselves?
True. I mean, there's always risk and reward relationship in anything, and in major transformations, technological transformations, it's not any different. So, on the risk side, I can see the industries with high proportions of routine tasks, with the business segments within administrative support, telemarketing, basic bookkeeping, certain paralegal tasks, and potentially aspects of content moderation or translation. So these are the business segments that are heavily relying on the deployment of automation, for example. Those jobs are at risk. The ones that are involving repetitive data entry, basic information processing, standardized customer interactions, or routine analysis, for example, they are the most susceptible to negative disruption through automation by current AI agents. Well, the transportation sector also faces significant disruption risk from autonomous vehicle progress, as we know. So the industries that are slow to adapt as well, the ones that are burdened by legacy systems, resistant organizational cultures, complex regulatory environments that hinder the agility, or those that fail to invest in necessary digital skills and infrastructure, they may find themselves quickly losing competitiveness as AI native or AI adopting rivals gaining ground. So the economy is heavily reliant on vulnerable sectors like robust digital infrastructure, economies that are lacking, the fundamental elements for AI adoption in those, let's say, robust digital infrastructure, strong education systems, producing AI-ready talent, sufficient R&D investment, and supportive governance are the most vulnerable to failing behind. On the other flip side, actually, conversely, there are industries or economies that are positioned to reinvent themselves. Here we can talk about, for example, the industries embracing AI for value creation that are successfully integrating human expertise with AI augmentation. They are very likely to thrive. So the companies, sectors that view AI agents not just as cost-cutting tools, but as enablers of fundamental reinvention are the best positioned ones. So we see this potential clearly in areas like personalized medicine, healthcare, smart adaptive manufacturing or automotive sector, data-driven risk management and personalized products like in finance and insurance, and adaptive learning platforms like in education. So economies fostering strong AI ecosystems, those countries, those nations, those sectors, companies, they are the best positioned ones, creating fertile ground for AI innovation and adoption. So it means that those nations that involve strategic public and private investment in research and development and infrastructure, who develop strong pipelines of AI talent through education and immigration policies, or the ones that establish clear but agile regulatory frameworks that build the trust without stifling innovation, and the ones that promote widespread adoption across industries and supporting the SMEs, these are the ones that are going to thrive the most, in my opinion.
Interesting. Okay. So you've mentioned here several industries, especially the ones that have been around. They have legacy systems where there's governance involved, which would heavily be, I would imagine, in the finance realm. All those factors would affect a lot of financial institutions there. But when you have all this, then you have companies fighting to really push ahead because they don't want to fall behind, and they want to keep driving that innovation to not only stay ahead or excuse me, to maintain, but to get ahead, right? And so when that happens, there can be some ethical questions, which has come up. So how can what do leadership need to consider, and how can they be more intentional about ethical design and governance with AI as all these considerations are coming into play, as requests are coming down from the board that has to happen? How do they maintain that balance of being innovative and staying on top while at the same time taking in those ethical design considerations?
Absolutely. I mean, we are very lucky in the sense that, as opposed to the previous industrial revolutions, there was the technology that was progressing very quickly, and the regulation or monitoring and having the principles and the frameworks in place, they were coming much later. However, it is encouraging to see today that we can mention some international efforts, for example, with the principles and frameworks. There are OECD's AI principles, US NIST's risk management framework, or international standards for organizational, for operational implementations, of course, with ISO and IEC 42001 in particular. So considering the leadership, I would say, first of all, the leaders must consider the fact that there is this aspect of responsible ambition, and there is the governed innovation. So in order to get there, so you have the regulation, of course, as we said, there are principles and frameworks that are already there. I can also cite, for example, the European AI Act, and the multi-stakeholder discussions that are going on between the different countries on international arenas, etc. So the leaders, first of all, in order to realize their responsible ambition and implement in a governed manner all the innovation that they have in mind, for example, I would say, first of all, they have to invest deeply and proactively in workforce transformation and AI literacy. I'm just recalling, Buffett says, the best investment is investing in yourself. By analogy, we could say the same for business leaders vis-a-vis their workforce. So investing in the right technology as well, defining very clear AI strategy, of course, they are necessary. However, we have to keep in mind that the most profound long-term differentiator is going to be investment in the human capital in that element. So that goes even beyond basic AI training. That is about continuous targeted reskilling and upskilling programs in order to allow development of the human skills that are going to be complemented by the AI. So those skills are needed to effectively collaborate with the AI agents. So the leaders must think about preparing their workforces for that. It's not only, training the workforce. It is also conducting thorough skills gap analysis and fostering a culture where lifelong learning isn't just encouraged, but it is structurally supported. So there's a lot to be done, and it is always the tone coming down from the C-suite or the boards. So implementing in a very strategically prepared way and taking into consideration as well the ethical requirements by different regulatory frameworks and principles, they are going to be able to achieve the responsible ambition because they must think beyond incremental improvements or simple cost-cutting automation. So they have to get everyone, not only the AI agents, but their workforces ready and get them be able to entirely participate in the new business modeling, reinventing the core functions, and they need to set the ambitious strategic goals for leveraging AI to create significant value. So when we talk about the responsibility, of course, ethics, fairness, transparency, privacy, security, and accountability, they cannot be bolted on later. They must be integral to the AI strategy and the development. So we are thinking about, getting this responsible AI implementation throughout the life cycle of the AI agents developments, for example. So the mindset of responsible ambition would avoid two traps. One is the paralysis of fearing potential risks, which leads to inaction, and the recklessness of pursuing innovation without considering the consequences. Both, they lead to ethical failures, loss of trust, and potentially severe backlash. So it's about moving forward confidently because you have strong ethical and governance foundations in place, because you have already prepared the ground as a leader. That allows to harness the immense opportunities of AI agents in a way that is both economically potent and societally beneficial.
No, that's great. That's great. Something that that I'm hearing, and I tell me if I'm grasping everything there correctly. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it's like you're using AI both in an ethical and a growth mindset to be innovative. Leadership shouldn't just be thinking, oh, great, how do I get rid of my workforce and replace it with AI? It's how do I incorporate AI into my workforce and then raise up my workforce so that they're just quantifiably getting more now, because with AI, they can get a lot more done. Now AI can do these mundane tasks. Your workforce can get skilled up and they can do more of the complex and creative and design work type of tasks. Do I kind of got
Absolutely,
that right?
Peter. Absolutely. It's not only digital transformation. It's not only technological transformation. It is also workforce transformation, because
Hmm.
humans are there. They will stay there. And
Hmm.
their emotional intelligence, their sentiments, whatever they can keep to themselves, for example, that cannot be transferred to the AI agents, they are even going to be more valuable in the future.
Yeah, no, that's super interesting, and super important as companies continue to move and adapt in this changing environment, right? Now,
Absolutely.
as we kind of go into continuing on with our leadership in these industries, as they're navigating more of these of AI and how to implement it and collaborate from all of these departments with where data is and where marketing's at and sales and product development, both and I'm talking just even kind of in the commercial sector, not even the government sectors as well. There's so many more departments and considerations and collaborations there. What do they need to strategically consider as they as their next move, and to not just react to what's happening, but to shape their future, their organization's future?
Well, I would say that we were talking about the responsibility of the C-suite leaders, for example.
Hmm.
So they need to ensure that they are not going to let everything to the other departments, to the compliance
Mm.
departments, for example. So of course they have to, um, uh, escalate they need to ensure that all the departments are going to be involved, in the
Hmm.
sense that it is like multi-stakeholder dialogue between technologists, between the government officials, for example, like the academia, like the ethicists and social creators, for example, like those people, as they are having their multi-stakeholder dialogue, that applies as well to the businesses. So
Mm.
everybody needs to work hand in hand, and
Yeah.
they need to have their very clear strategy already set up with the board and the executive management, and everybody needs to work towards those strategic AI and AI agent based goals, and have all their implementations actually aligned with those strategic vision. And
Mm.
this is really the responsibility of everyone. It's not only C-suite, or it's not only the board, it's not only one department, but it is everyone all together on the same boat that need to work towards the same AI goals.
No, that makes sense. In some areas, small areas, you can have kind of it can be siloed off into one department or one section. But what I'm hearing from you is that this is such a big deal. There's so much, it affects so many channels within the organization that they really need to make sure they're including all of those aspects, all the departments. Otherwise, they're going to get lopsided in some area, and it's just not gonna work.
Absolutely, absolutely. Everybody is concerned. Everybody is
Right.
concerned. It's like we have to think about it like, we are cloning the humans with the AI agents. Can you
Hmm.
imagine with the 8 billion population that we have on our planet today, if we were cloning the humans with the AI agents, those
Hmm.
agents being able to augment the human capabilities, for example, then they are part of the economy. So we have to make sure that those AI agents are going to have the input from everyone, not only
Mm.
from one side of the business, but from everyone, because they are capable of thinking, they are capable of reasoning, they are capable of taking decisions, making suggestions. So they need to have that broad overview of everything. So
Yeah.
absolutely, I agree
That
with you,
makes
Peter.
that makes sense. I don't know that it really clicked for me until you just said that part of there's going to be AI agents all over the place. Imagine how many people are. You're just saying 8 million some odd people. Now, how many AI agents? If we have hundreds of thousands or millions of these AI agents, they're going to have an economic impact. And I was like, wow, okay. That I don't know. For some reason, now once you kind of take that big number, it's like, wow, there has to be. You can't really say there's not going to be. So that's super interesting, very impactful to think about. Um, so with that said, Dr. Cotelli, as we're kind of closing out this session here, what piece of advice or final words would you leave with the audience and our viewers today, and maybe that's maybe even on the mindset of how they're embracing AI. How can they do that responsibly and be ambitious about it? What would you say?
Well, I would say that we have to really govern, the innovation with the mindset of getting ready to that pace,
Mhm.
accelerating even more and more. Um, the economy is made of, in majority, by the SMEs. Plus, you have those mega tech companies, plus the governments, plus everyone. So the international organizations or the governments, they are ready, and they are already issuing the guidances, the
Mm.
principles, and the frameworks for that to be taken into consideration. So
Mm.
it is the corporations and the SMEs, and also the governments actually themselves, to adopt those new approaches, new way of implementing the ethical consideration, um, and grow all together. So for that to happen, we have to take all the ethical groundwork that has already been prepared and is being prepared, and couple it with the businesses' innovative approaches, visions, and creativity and entrepreneurship, in order to marry everything all together, and govern the innovation going forward all together. That would be my perhaps last thought to convey.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Cotelli. Really appreciate it. Now, if anyone from our audience and viewers, they want to get in touch with you, have some questions for you, what's the best way to reach you? Maybe on LinkedIn or.
Absolutely. On LinkedIn, they can find me by typing in Birgul Cotelli, They can find me easily over there. I also have a website, which is birgulcotelli.com. They can easily reach out to me that way. And I would like to thank you, Peter, as well, for this honorable invitation. It was a pleasure to participate to this summit together with you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. We thoroughly enjoyed having you. So for those viewers, thank you so much for joining us for this session of the Talk AI Summit. Please make sure that you browse our other presentations, both that are exclusively recorded for this event and those that are in the live session. Also, you'll be able to find Dr. Cotelli's link to her LinkedIn below in this chat conversation, and we'll direct you straight there. So again, thank you all for joining us and enjoy the rest of the event.
Thank you.